Massage your brain. Reading good literature is a gentle yet powerful massage of the brain. Reading activates numerous neural networks that differ depending on emotional and visuospatial focus. This is stated in a study by American and Canadian scientists who used functional magnetic resonance imaging on several volunteers who simultaneously read excerpts from novels, biographies, or magazines. Depending on what the person reads, only parts of the network are activated. For example, reading excerpts that describe people and thoughts activates the medial prefrontal cortex, while excerpts with more physical content activate the temporal lobe. The temporal lobe contains structures important for memory and for perceiving and processing the emotional content of the book. Since when does money not stink? It doesn't matter how we got the money, what matters is that we have it now. And if someone doesn't like that, we tell them that money doesn't stink. But where did this strange saying come from? To find the explanation, we have to go all the way back to the 1st century AD, when Emperor Vespasian ruled ancient Rome. He came to power at a time when the state treasury was desperately low on funds. How to get the country back on its feet quickly? Vespasian solved it with a tax reform. He raised some taxes and introduced many new ones. Among them was a tax on the use of urine. At that time, urine from public toilets was used for many purposes. Thanks to the ammonia it contained, it was useful for washing, cleaning, leather processing, and even in medicine. Money from urine? That's disgusting. Vespasian's son and successor, Titus, protested against the measure. So his father brought him the money collected from this tax and held it under his nose. Well, does it stink? Titus sniffed it, and had to admit, whether he liked it or not, that it did not. Why do Moroccans pour tea from a height? If you order traditional mint tea in a Moroccan restaurant, the waiter will pour it from a teapot almost a meter above the glass. You'll be tempted to jump back to avoid being burned. So why is it actually done, when it seems so dangerous? It must be admitted that this kind of tea pouring ritual looks really impressive. But that's not why it's done. And if you're thinking it's some kind of religious ritual, that's not correct either. The reason is different. To prepare Moroccan tea, mint leaves are briefly boiled in water. But part of the oxygen evaporates from the water during this process. If you then drink too much of this deoxygenated tea, it can cause stomach pain. The tea can also taste too sour. When a waterfall of tea falls into the glass from a greater height, it creates bubbles. These, of course, are full of air, so oxygen is returned to the tea. Why do owls fly so quietly? When some birds flap their wings and take off, it's often quite a racket. Unless, of course, it's an owl flying. Not even the best ears can hear it. How does it manage to be so quiet in flight? The owl is primarily a nocturnal hunter. And for its hunt to be successful, it is helped not only by the ability to see in the dark, but also by the silence of its wings. Nothing disturbs it during flight, and it hears everything around it, while the prey hears nothing and has no chance. Why owl wings are so quiet has, of course, long puzzled scientists, and they have been trying to figure it out through various experiments. When comparing the flight of an owl and a pigeon, for example, they noticed that the owl is helped by the large size of its wings relative to its body. With a single flap, it can move much farther than a pigeon with smaller wings, which creates less air turbulence. Then come the fine fringes or serrations, which were discovered on the leading edge of owl wings in 1934 by British aviator Robert Rule Graham. These features effectively suppress even the last traces of hissing air. What makes blueberries blue? Aside from the sky, there's very little blue in nature. One of the rare exceptions is blueberries. Even though we truly perceive them as blue, and this color has even given them their name in many languages, they paradoxically don't contain any blue pigments. So where does the blue come from? Blueberries contain a large amount of anthocyanins, which color them more reddish or purplish. That's exactly the color we see when we start crushing blueberries, just like the stains they leave on a white t-shirt or on your hands. So why do they appear blue to the eye? That's exactly what scientists at the University of Bristol are investigating, and they discovered tiny crystals of wax on the surface of the berries, which scatter the blue components of light. When scientists carefully wipe off this invisible wax and transfer it elsewhere, it turns blue again. This unusual blue coloration is meant to repel animals that blueberries are not intended for, and a similar effect can also be seen in sloes or plums. Previously, scientists believed that the wax coating on fruit served only a hydrophobic or self-cleaning function, but now, for the first time, it's been confirmed that it can also play a role in coloring. Can mountains grow? When we look at mountains, we feel like they've been here forever, majestic, motionless, lifeless. While everything around them changes, they seem to have stayed the same for millions of years. Is it really so? It all starts with two tectonic plates that collide. They push against each other, bend, and create irregularities from which mountains are formed. How tall will they eventually be? That depends on many factors, such as the effects of erosion or the composition of the material in the Earth's crust, which determines whether the mountains will be uplifted or sink. Forces between the mountains and the ground beneath them often pull against each other, creating tension. And thanks to that tension, some mountains simply continue to grow. The Himalayas, for example, rise in height by 1.5 to 5 centimeters every year. Why do we write from left to right? While the first ancient scripts went in all directions, today the method of writing is more monotonous. Most people on the planet write from left to right. But why was this particular direction chosen? The most widespread theory, of course, claims that it's due to the dominance of right-handed people over left-handed ones. For right-handers, this movement is simply easier, and writing in the opposite direction would cause them to smear the text with their hand. Others, however, see the dominant writing direction as a reflection of the sun's movement across the sky. It also moves from left to right during the day, and that's why we associate the right side with the future. But why do Arabic or Hebrew scripts, for example, still run in the opposite direction? Some historians believe that the choice of writing material may have played a role. In places where writing was originally carved into stone, scribes needed both hands. When a right-handed person holds a chisel in the left hand and a hammer in the right, the movement naturally continues from right to left. And a deeply rooted tradition simply remained in some regions even after people began writing on paper. Is it possible to see stars during the day? Of course it is. All day long, we can see a star called the sun. But what about the stars that are just a bit farther away? If you want to catch sight of stars during the day, you have to look at the sky from the bottom of a deep well. That's what the Greek philosopher Aristotle advised, and it seems logical. The walls of the well protect us from direct sunlight, making the sky appear darker. According to astronomers, this is just a myth. However, some stars can still be seen during the day. We usually need a telescope to see them. The very first star observed through a telescope in broad daylight was Arcturus from the Boötes constellation, in the year 1635. This star, with a diameter 25 times that of the Sun, is especially known for lighting up the lamps at the opening of the Century of Progress exhibition in Chicago in 1933 using photons captured from its light. The orange light of Arcturus can be spotted with the naked eye about 3/4 of an hour before sunset. Similarly, under suitable conditions, the brightest star in the sky, Sirius, can also be seen during the day without a telescope. Where did the halo around saints come from? You can easily recognize images of saints in various works of art. Their heads are adorned with a halo. But since when, and why, have they been depicted in this way? The halo is by no means only a Christian concept. References to it can already be found among the ancient Greeks and Romans. In Homer's Iliad, for example, the goddess Athena creates a golden mist around Achilles' head. A similar glow appears with other military heroes, and later the Romans give it the shape of a disc and place it on the heads of emperors. Christians at first also used the halo more to mark figures from ancient literature. For saints, they originally depict crowns or laurel wreaths. Later, they begin using different types of halos, a triangular one for members of the Holy Trinity, a circular one for saints and angels, or a square one for living people. Over the centuries, this becomes standardized and the circular halo remains. According to some interpretations, it is meant to represent the sun. According to others, the circle is a symbol of completeness, the achievement of balance between beginning and end. What is the hardest substance in the body? Guessing that bones come first, since they hold the soft body together? Not quite. We carry one more secret weapon inside us, one that even surpasses bones in hardness. Bite down firmly. Do you feel it? Yes, the hardest substance in the human body is tooth enamel. The material forming the protective coating of our teeth is made up of as much as 98% mineral substances, with only 2% consisting of organic matter and water. The hardness of enamel is often compared to quartz, which ranks at level 7 on the Mohs scale of mineral hardness, just 3 steps below diamond. Other rankings give enamel a hardness of 5, and some even as high as 9. Unfortunately for us, this super hard enamel is only 1 to 3 millimeters thick. And unlike bones, it has no ability to regenerate when damaged.